It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. This round is MotoAmerica Superbikes at Texas, as we have Supersport race number 2 on deck from right here in Austin, Texas at Circuit of the Americas. And the man of the hour, of course, is Xavi Forés, as we get ready to talk about all the race action that's going to be coming up. Welcome, everyone, to the broadcast. Welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time national champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, when we look at it, Xavi Forés did an outstanding job. Did what he needed to do to wrap up the championship.
Yeah, and I think yesterday it was just about getting that championship wrapped up, but he also felt good enough to go ahead and get that win over a hard-charging Tyler Scott, who we've seen do some good things. His race 1 highlights come up here. Greg, you can see from the moment, it didn't look like Xavi got a very good start, but he led him up into turn 1, and there was 3 M4 XR Suzukis right behind him as they funneled through the S's. You see Jake Lewis there, early spill for Josh Hayes, so we didn't get to see him at all yesterday. He was 3rd or 4th quick this morning. Ty Scott put in this early challenge right off the bat. Xavi Forés was able to turn it back underneath him. A couple laps later, the same thing kind of went back through, and Xavi decided he was going to follow Ty Scott for a couple of laps. As you see Ty Scott going up underneath him here in turn 1. You see a little shake of the head. I think Xavi felt like maybe the pace wasn't what his liking was, so he went straight to the apex of turn 1, and from this point, Greg, he was never headed. He was able to pull out a little bit of a lead, only about a second, but we had a red flag. Our race was shortened by 3 laps, and that is your 2023 MotoAmerica Supersport champion.
So Xavi Forés comes in here at 37 years of age as a MotoAmerica rookie and gets it done. And here is what it looks like so far in 13 starts. 9 wins, 8 consecutive to start the season, those 11 podiums, and look at that percentage, Jay, 85%. And he has really done an outstanding job here. And now the question becomes, what's he going to do today, right? All the gloves are off right now, and of course, possibility of racing on a superbike at New Jersey.
Yeah, now he can just go out and just go for it. He's not going to care about anything. Championship's already wrapped up. Just try to get another win bonus. But I think Ty Scott, again, this was quick this morning, but Xavi went under their lap record from yesterday. He went 14 flat yesterday, 13.9 this morning in cooler conditions. But I think the pace is going to be hot at the front.
We had a couple new riders in the Supersport field yesterday, and the best of those was a young Canadian named Torrin Collins, and he's with Hanalopa right now.
Greg, Torrin Collins making his MotoAmerica and Supersport debut yesterday. 4th place finish in his first ever race. Torrin, now that you've had some time to rest, kind of reflect on that, where's your head today?
Well, today the main focus is trying to improve on what we did yesterday. Just leave off where we left yesterday's race. I slept, I thought about it. The main part where I need to improve is the S's. That's where I'm losing a lot of time. And I talked to my data, and basically I'm changing the gear I'm in turn 6. That's what we're going to work on. I did it in warm-up, and it felt different. It took me a while to get used to it, but I'm feeling good now.
Best of luck out there. Sounds like Torrin Collins has a great plan, guys.
It definitely sounds like a great plan, and he's going to need one because this is a tricky racetrack here at Circuit of the Americas. 3.4 miles long and 20 corners, Jason.
Tricky, physical, and hot today, as it's been all weekend, Greg, up to that turn 1. Ever important turn 1. Get through that thing safely, and you got a run of S's that you're going to go through. First real passing spot after that's going to be down there in that turn 11 onto that big, long back straightaway into another heavy braking. Good passing opportunity there, too. Then they go through a little stadium section into the series of rights, turns 16, 17, and 18. A little bit of a roller on the exit of 18. We've seen some guys roll over that. And then turn 19, a little bit bumpy, all the way down through to turn 20. And then again, like I've said, Greg, it's a short run here at COTA to that checkered flag from that point.
Well, there's Circuit of the Americas as we have an 11-lap affair on deck. And hey, this 17-year-old from Pennsylvania is looking to get redemption. He wants to go pole to a win. Can he get it done?
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series, and by Geico Motorcycle. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be.
We're less than a warm-up lap away from getting this race started, as it looks like there's a race going on up front, but it's simply the warm-up lap. Look at Circuit of the Americas, the tower there, as Ty Scott right down to business. Josh Hayes on the Squid Hunter Yamaha R6, the number 4, looking for a much better day, Jason, than he had yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for Josh yesterday, we had a talk on the phone last night, and I told him my concerns about that front wheel because of the way it turned. I was worried about it turning back in front of the field yesterday when he was trying to save it on his knee. And we talked about that a little bit last night. But he, I think they might have had a motor swap too in that bike, possibly, as these guys are running wide at the end on the warm-up lap. So, yeah.
Let's get down to Hannah.
Guys, yesterday Xavi Forés wrapped up the championship title, a really, really impressive feat just since he's entered our series. But I think you'd be interested to know that this time last year, he was actually considering retiring from racing completely. He felt like the opportunities that were available to him weren't necessarily fulfilling or ones that he would be happy with. And fast forward to this year, the opportunity to come to the United States and to be a part of our series that really welcomed him with open arms, and to be so successful here has been so fulfilling for him that, you know, no matter what happens moving forward, whatever other opportunities present themselves, he's really fulfilled by being in MotoAmerica and wants to continue racing in our series. But I just thought that was really crazy how quickly things can change in the sport of racing. This time last year, he was thinking, you know, maybe it's time to put the helmet and boots away for good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the motivation. When you come out of the gate and you start winning, that's how it happens. Ty Scott on pole with Xavi Forés and Teague Hobbs, your row.
Then we got Josh Hayes, Jake Lewis, and Dave Anthony. Spoke to him a little bit, getting to that in a little while. Torrin Collins, Gerardo, Debrino, Mazziato, Cody Wyman, and Carl Soltis. We have Blake Holt, Massani, Jagalov, Kayla Yakov here, Owen Williams, who put in a good run this morning, CJ LaRoche, Jorge Erstein, Jordan Eubanks, Jake Vandal, Andrew Forsyth, Jordan Tropkoff, and Corey Pappas. Trees, Mallory Dobbs, Larry Davis, Zaragoza, and Joel Ullman round out our field. So, same thing as yesterday, Greg. You see how they were kind of chilling out on the warm-up lap? Mm-hmm. It's just because of this heat. They don't want to wreck the tires too quickly here. So, again, it's going to be a strong 11 laps, and we're going to see what kind of changes the 79 made overnight. We heard Teague Hobbs say that he thought they could make some changes and he could get better in a couple spots. So we'll see how that goes.
So here we go, Supersport race number 2 from Circuit of the Americas. 11 laps scheduled for this one. Revs are up. Oh, and we're away racing, but it looked like a little bit of movement from Teague Hobbs in the 3rd place position. But it looked like a good launch from the number 70 Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki's. Tyler Scott, your pole sitter, is going to lead us down the hill into turn number 2.
Teague moved over, and it would have been better had he just stayed up on the inside. He got a good start, moved all the way over to the right, and it allowed Xavi Forés and Josh Hayes. You don't need to give those guys a second invitation, do you? But the Ducati looked like it just kind of lurched a little bit at the start there and wheelied a little bit for Xavi, but he's right where he needs to be. He's right behind the guy that he knows he wants to try to get past and beat today. But Teague Hobbs, I saw the same thing you did, as Dave Anthony makes a move for 5th, just a little further back. Much better start for Josh Hayes, as you see him sitting there in 4th right now.
Thought he was going to try to make that same move around the outside yesterday that got him into the dirty stuff and caused him to lose the front, but he makes it through, does the number 4 Hayes. Xavi Forés looking for a move up the inside on Tyler Scott, and he will take over the position. Onto the back straightaway they go, and now it's Ducati versus Suzuki. That V2 and the GSXR 750, both of these are next generation motorcycles that are balanced, and you can see that Ty Scott uses the draft and pass, and he will regain the number 1 spot for the moment. As looks like fighting back right away is going to be Xavi Forés, and he gets it.
Yeah, he does, and let's see if he can hold on to it as they come out of there. And Cody Wyman runs wide a little further back. It was a good start for him, but he moves out of the line just a little, so he's going to drop back a few spots. I see Torrin Collins. We got about a 6-rider breakaway right now, Greg, and it looks like Torrin Collins is just on the back end of this 5-rider train. You know, obviously we have the addition of Josh Hayes today because we didn't get to see him. Really interesting watching him attack these infield turns. A lot of bikes here in our class. They do a lot of different things gearing-wise. That R6 is one of the few that I still saw going all the way back to first gear. Josh was getting that thing back into first gear in some of these tight corners, and if he starts to move forward, we can talk a little bit more about that as Ty Scott now takes a shot coming into the last corner.
Nice attack by Ty Scott to take over the lead, but as Xavi Flores squared up and he gets the lead back, he does. All the while, this group right behind him is going, yeah, keep battling it out. Slow you guys down a little bit. And now under power goes Scott back to the lead.
And Greg's got his lap counter out here to try to see how many passes for the lead we have already. And we've already up to about 4 or 5 as Dave Anthony looked like he was trying to get the better of Josh Hayes as they came onto that front straightaway. We'll see if he was able to make that pass. As we look in the background, he was. So now David Anthony up to 4th behind Teague Hobbs, but it still looks to me, Greg, like the 2 guys at the front have the pace over everybody else.
And unfortunately for the 79 of Teague Hobbs on that Vision Wheel Import Star Suzuki, he's got a 5-second penalty for a jump start as we look at the pass for the lead, at least the latest pass for the lead, Jay.
Yeah, that was just going into that last corner, and Ty Scott decided he wanted to take a shot and just kind of disrupt Xavi a little bit probably. He doesn't want to let Xavi get out front and get through these S's on his own. Maybe Ty feels like he's got a little bit of pace through the S's, does Xavi, so he wants to do his best to try to keep that away. As you see Josh Hayes now making a bid to get himself back into 4th underneath Dave Anthony. He's able to make that work.
Supersport race number 1 working the second lap of the race. We've had one from a dead stop, so this will be the first flying lap when they get to the checkered flag or the start-finish line here in a couple of corners. And Tyler Scott, man, he is just looking good as Hayes.
Josh doing what Josh does. He's just, I think he's battling a little, maybe a little bit of a deficit there. And I think also for him having to go back to first gear, you know, second's going to be too luggy. First gear's probably going to be a bit revvy. He goes all the way back to first here. You can see him get that downshift down, and he rolls in. He's going to be able to get off the corner okay, but he's probably got to get see that quick upshift he's got to do. It's almost immediate as he comes out of there. So you can see the differences in what some of the bikes do and some of the different riders have as far as gearing. And for Josh, that just seems like it's going to be his best option at the moment. Oh, we got a bike down. It's Teague Hobbs. That's going to end up right in the middle of the racetrack, Greg, going down into turn 19 rather. All the riders hopefully will be able to see this.
Wow, Teague Hobbs, that, although it was out of frame for us, it looked like it was a high side, and I can't imagine as Ty Scott comes across the stripe at 2:15.1, red flag is out. As we would expect.
That might happen, huh?
Yeah, with a bike sitting in the middle of the track, dangerous race conditions.
And you're right, Greg. That is like, it happens so late that it can. There's a little bump on the inside that we'll see if he gets over it. No, I couldn't see it at that point. But as soon as I saw a little bit of smoke, and I saw Dave make a big reaction to his left. So here you go. Yeah. That's ugly. That doesn't happen too often. We don't see high sides very much, and thank goodness that bike stayed away from Teague Hobbs.
Wow, that was certainly very, very violent. Of course, no traction control. You know, for these motorcycles, the only real electronics that they have to do with engine braking. So that was a big one as we're under red flag conditions. And
that happened so late. Here we go. There's T getting up. That's good to see. We have not seen this young man do that at all this year. I mean, he's had such a great first season, and I don't think his bike's going to roll, Greg. He's wanting to go over and look at it, but I don't think that thing's going to roll. It flipped pretty bad.
True warrior. Another look at it, Jay.
Now you're going to see it's going to kick loose on him after. Yep, it's just right after he comes over that little rise in the track, and it just unsettles the bike ever so slightly. And you see him arms in and tucking, and that big hit that you see on the back of the bike there, that's going to be the one that's going to prevent him from getting back up. That bike started to flip and cartwheel, and yeah, you can tell. Just a shame to see that from Teague.
That tire mark he left was huge. All right, Supersport race number 2, red flag conditions. On the other side, we'll get some things sorted for you. Stay with us.
Looking to improve upon that second place finish yesterday. Tyler, take us through that as those opening laps.
Yeah, we got a really great start again today. Got the whole shot, and we're going to try to stay a lot closer today to Flores, and hopefully we'll have some good battles like the first stint of the race there. And I feel confident with our setup and our strategy for the race, and let's get it going.
You're the only rider in the field that's running that zero front tire. What is it that's really working well for you with that?
The zero front tire for me just felt great right off the bat when we got here, so haven't really had a problem under heavy braking all weekend. This morning we had some small issues, but it seems to paid off by the little tweaks that we did.
How would you say the conditions are different from yesterday? Are you noticing it's not as hot?
They feel about the exact same, so I'm excited.
All right, best of luck as Tyler continues, guys.
Highlights so far here in Supersport race number 2. Jason, take it away.
Yeah, we don't have a lot just yet, but Ty Scott got off to that good start, and then Xavi Flores and him literally probably passed each other. What's your lap count say over there, Greg? Probably 4 times in the first lap and a half of this race. Six times. So these guys kind of went after each other. You're going to see Xavi Flores makes that bid down into turn 11 here on the first lap. Ty Scott drafts back past him, only to have Xavi turn it back up underneath him and go back past him again. Just behind you see Teague Hobbs, who did have a 5-second penalty, I believe, because of a jump start. But these two at the front were just going back and forth after each other the whole way. Ty Scott comes back through. Xavi turned it underneath him. Ty Scott went back by him up the front straightaway. And that's kind of what it looked like it was going to be. There was a battle just behind these guys. But this is what brought out our red flag. Teague Hobbs with a huge high side, Greg, coming out of that turn 16, 17, 18. Big, long right-hander. Happy to say we got to watch him get up, although a little bit ginger. And but it looked like he was going to be okay, didn't it? It looked like he was going to be fine.
It did. So we're going to restart with 7 laps to go. It'll be the original grid positions. So Ty Scott will be able to get into his spot. And of course, here in MotoAmerica Supersport, you have to restart the race from the original bike that you started the race. It's a single bike rule. So for Teague Hobbs,
it's a bummer.
I mean, yeah, because that would be an absolute miracle to get that Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki back running, even if he was feeling well enough to do it. We know that he was up and okay, and during the break, we saw Teague, not only the corner workers ushering his bike away, but Teague was there on the racetrack actually collecting some of the bits and pieces he left on the track. He was cleaning up his own mess. He's such a good guy.
Yep.
Yeah. And so he was trying to help the corner workers out, even though he was in a state of banged upness.
Yeah, he really was. That was a big hit. So the fact that he got up and he's okay, that's the main thing.
So originally this went 7 laps. Now we're going to go, or 11 laps. Now we're going to go to 7 laps to go here in Supersport. And Jay, obviously we know Ty Scott and Xavi Flores, the speed they have, but who do you think that this would play in a little bit of advantage to? Maybe Hayes? David Anthony at this point?
Yeah, you know, I think the thing is, Greg, I believe Tyler and Xavi just have a little bit of pace over everybody. So, you know, for Josh, he didn't get the laps he wanted yesterday. He's riding around, you know, I don't remember too many times seeing him race against Dave Anthony in the past. So that was probably a little bit new for both those guys to see each other out there. The question mark for me was Jake Lewis. I didn't see Jake anywhere. So we're going to keep an eye on him to see if he is actually on the grid. I'm looking for him even coming across our screen at the moment. But I didn't see Jake.
Quick start procedure? Tell us, Jay.
Quick start procedure. They went out and did a quick little siding lap from pit lane. They're coming back onto the grid now, as you can see, and there'll be a member from each one of their teams. Just one member will be out there to kind of put everybody in their grid spots, and then they'll let them go out for a warm-up lap, Greg, and go from there. Looks like it's been taken down to 7 laps now from the original 11. And there's Kayla Yakov on her first try on this Tyler Cycles Kawasaki.
Yeah, and she was actually in, I believe, 10th place when the red flag came out.
Yep.
Making some big progress there as we were waiting for the lap counter. But so this is the deal with the red flag conditions here in MotoAmerica in the Supersport category. You're allowed to add fuel, make any changes you want. The only changes you can't make is tires, unless for some reason Dunlop deems it necessary, and it is not. So these are tires that already have a couple laps on them. And Jay, you had talked about it beforehand with taking it easy on those warm-up laps. So now you got basically a heat cycle through these tires, but with the sun out, with the track temp up, and you know, with everything, like, do you think it'll be a huge heat cycle?
Not as much, right? I agree with you, because we hear the riders talking all the time about heat cycling these tires, or starting on a tire from in the morning from the tire they had the night before, and there's a big heat cycle in those. Right now with the heat on, and they literally made it back in, had their warmers thrown over them, and so that the temperature in the tires shouldn't be too big of a problem as it would normally be. But you'll see here, even there'll be guys by the time they get to the back straightaway. You know, you want to try to keep the edges of the tires as good as you can, so you don't want to wear those out too much, right? Yep. And by the time they get to the end of the back straightaway, they'll be cruising back to the start, where normally we'll see people the last half of a lap really trying to get that extra heat in their tires so they don't have to sit there. 115 degrees on the track, Greg, 97-degree temperature outside. So the main thing there is the track temperature, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we were yesterday looking at upwards of 120 plus. So it is a little bit cooler on track temperature-wise. It's a little bit cooler ambient temperature. But during the break, we heard Hannah actually have a conversation with Ty Scott, and she asked him about the temperature, and he said feels exactly like yesterday.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, 97 to 103 yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably feels about the same.
Well, it's funny because a few days ago it was 108. And
Yes.
I think on Friday it was 108.
It was brutal.
And today I said to a couple of our grid marshals out there, I thought it felt a little cooler. And they said they thought it felt hotter. So it's just one of those things, and it's burning up out here in Austin right now.
Dude, and all props to our camera operators and all the crew that helped them this weekend. Corner workers sitting out there.
Sitting out there in this heat.
100%. I mean, we appreciate everybody because a lot of these folks are out there all day long. And when I arrived at the track at 7 o'clock this morning, Jay, it was already 83 degrees. And so it's not like you get any cooler temperatures to speak of in the morning. What you don't get is the blistering sun, because you get out there and with my bald head, as soon as that hits the sun, you can feel it.
I was going to ask you, do donuts taste as good at 85-degree weather as normal to you? Or?
So red flag conditions are over here, Supersport race number 2. We're on our warm-up lap as Jason Pridmore tries to get his comedian certificate. But we have 7 laps to go in this race after Teague Hobbs on the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki. He launched it to the moon, big high side. It looks like he's going to be okay. But let's get down to Hannah before we get this race going. Hannah?
Yeah, you guys are talking about the heat out here. It's definitely noticeably not as bad as yesterday from where I'm standing. But I talked to Tyler Scott during this red flag here, and he said, on the bike it feels exactly the same as it did to him yesterday anyway. But once that adrenaline takes over, it's not something that he's really concentrating on as much as what he's physically actually doing. It's when he comes to a complete stop. So like the fact that they're sitting on the grid right now is when it's the most noticeable. As soon as he gets going, doesn't notice as much at all.
Yeah, the 17-year-old's gung-ho anyway, right, Jay? I mean, he's just like, let's go race, and not let's go and get it over it. He's like, let's go and race. This is what he wants to do for a living. He's doing it, and he enjoys it, just like this guy, Josh Hayes. So, empty spot on row number 1 for Teague Hobbs. Revs are up. These lights better get going. These bikes are going to overheat.
That's.
Well, unfortunately, the 74 bike has an issue we hear in the back of the grid.
So they had Wyman's bike.
Cody Wyman's bike. So, unfortunately, hands in the air. They're going to try to get that bike off the grid.
Well, he's probably going to have to push it through the wall. Even if he gets it started, they're going to push him through the wall.
Yeah, he's got to get going there.
Push it through the wall.
All right, so now we should be ready to go. Boy, this heat plays havoc with a lot of machinery. So that 55 Gilbert team going to try to get that thing rolling. If he gets to start, he's going to start from pit lane. So here we go again.
Are they gonna hold him up? I'm not sure if they're gonna hold him up, Greg. All the bikes right now are getting super hot, so it's almost like you need to give them another lap, get some air going through the motors and the radiators and things like that to try to cool it, because they'll just be sitting out there baking,
Yeah.
So you can, that's the problem. It kind of got to let them go. Yeah, that's what you got to do, because the bikes overheat.
Yeah, so Anthony Mazziato and his bike probably overheated, and could have been the possibility. I mean, who knows? But all right, so they're going to allow him another lap. Try to get some air in the radiators. Once again, we said, 97-degree ambient temperature.
There's fluid or something on the ground. I can see a lot of riders gesturing, so I'm not sure what that is. But the problem is these bikes start to boil over, and you'll start to see, start seeing stuff come out of the bikes. And if you're behind them, it's not a good feeling, Craig.
Yeah, definitely not. So we're trying to get Supersport race number 2, part 2 underway. A 7-lap affair. Got a couple riders have to push their bikes off the grid just before the start.
I also heard that Jake Lewis, the reason we don't see him is he's not feeling well. So, again, not sure if that's heat or if he's had a problem overnight or whatever the case might be. But that's why we're not seeing the 85 of Jake Lewis out there.
Yeah, he's not the only rider this weekend. In the Steel Commander Stock 1000 class, your championship points leader got sick and wasn't able to compete. Ezra Bobier this weekend. A huge blow to the possibility of having the number 1 plate. And so we know a few riders have not been feeling well, whether that's from the heat or just some type of maybe stomach virus going around. But so unfortunately for the 85, if you're a fan of the Disrupt Racing, Jake Lewis on his GSXR 750, he won't be participating in this event. Crazy conditions, Jason.
Yeah.
How do you keep your mental? How do you keep your focus?
It's tough. Obviously it's warm and you're thinking about that stuff. I think a lot of the riders will be just making sure the temperatures on their bikes are in a range where they're going to be okay. Obviously, you see what happened there to Anthony. That was a shame. But when you're sitting on the grid and you have a problem, and then you have to get a rider off the grid. There was a couple of riders early in the Stock 1000 race when I was out there watching on the wall that were literally coming to the line and just shutting their bikes off. And I thought, well, that still doesn't take care of the heat too much, But if you're one of the first riders back, you don't want the bike overheating and things. So, and look how slow they're going on their warm-up laps right now. And this again, tires. They got to think about. Don't want the tires to get baked away too much. And I'm sure MotoAmerica's on the pulse of things. Hopefully, they saw a few riders, like I said, gesturing. And yeah, they're going to try to get this race started as quickly as they can, though, when the field gets set again.
That's the problem, Jay, is how long it's taking the field to come around. Their riders already sitting on their grid position, and now the laps have been reduced to 6 laps. Obviously, fuel and tires are a concern for this situation, but some riders are already sitting in their grid position. Meanwhile, the back of the field still trying to get there as they were Cadillacing around this warm-up lap to try to conserve whether it's fuel or tires as well.
I think you'll see them pretty quickly, though. As soon as that last rider gets into place, they're not going to waste too much time, Greg. So Dave Anthony looking down at his bike. Looks like he's ready to go. Looks like the field looks fairly set.
A couple empty grid spots because
of
some attrition we've had so far. So now we're getting ready to go. Supersport race number 2, part number 2.5. 6 laps to go in this one. Revs are up. All right, here we go. So Way Racing. Josh Hayes in 3rd spot. David Anthony right behind him, and it's going to be Xavi Flores who leads us into turn number 1. Is David Anthony trying to go around the outside of Hayes on that wrenched Motorcycles entry GSXR 750.
It's what Josh needed to do. He needed to get in behind these 2 guys at the front through these S's for the first lap. So for the 4, that's going to be a big advantage for him. You can see him just stretch out in between turn 4 and 5 there over Dave Anthony. He closes up on the back a little bit closer to Ty Scott. So for Hayes, it's worked out okay. Now maybe he could try to get into a rhythm and go with these guys at the front. Biggest problem is again, he's going to be going all the way back down to 1st gear on that R6. When they get over the top of this hill, it's going to be 4th gear down through here, and then all the way back through the gearbox. So see if Josh can get off that turn with these guys.
So Xavi Flores leading the way. Look at the run that Ty Scott's trying to get onto the back straightaway and stretch the legs of that GSXR 750. But so far, the Panigale V2, that 955 twin, electronically controlled for balancing. Having a good run at it, but it looks like Ty Scott might be in the draft. We know that he can pass up the inside, but a couple of bike lengths too far away is Hayes and David Anthony leaning on each other. Does David know he's there?
2 super experienced riders doing that with each other, and then, it looks like it's so close from our vantage point, but they know what they're doing. They can't mess around too much because they don't want these guys to get away. But again, you see here again, the difference there, Dave Anthony does not go back a gear. Josh does. And you see how Dave Anthony's bike rolls in there a little bit wide? That's because in 2nd gear, he doesn't have that engine brake to really help slow him down. So when you're tipping in on the edge of the tire in a gear that's a little bit taller, it makes everything feel a little bit flighty up in the front. That's why he couldn't just get down to the apex there as he goes around the outside of Torrin Collins to set himself up for the inside of turn 19. Run a little bit wide again.
Oh, couldn't get a turn.
Torrin turns it back underneath him.
So the 18-year-old from Canada, Torrin Collins, on that Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki, and his only ride in Supersport and first of his career this weekend. Back to the front we go, and lead change. And it is Ty Scott. But up the inside goes Xavi Flores with a more direct line to the apex of the corner, and he will control the exit speed.
Yeah, he just parked him at the corner there, and now for this is something that you kind of see go back and forth on, and Xavi through the S's here tries to get a little bit of a gap, but Ty Scott, they've really made some big jumps on this bike in the last, especially 3-4 rounds that we've watched, really since Brainerd. They found some things there on that bike, and it's allowed Ty to feel like he can hang a little bit more through the S's and things here of it. And you can see what it's done for Ty, really, because of the Suzuki riders, he's the one that's really been able to take the fight to Xavi week in and week out since that Brainerd round that we had, and he's able to stay a lot closer to Xavi.
So Forez on the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati New York entry, and Xavi trying to get it up on the meat of the tire, Superbike style, and really accelerate out of that corner. What's really interesting, Jason, is that the bike that Xavi Forez is on, anybody can purchase these bikes. These are next generation Supersport machines. And in talking to Bobby Scheck, who's the main man over there at Warhorse HSBK Racing, I was asking Bobby, how many bikes have you guys built in the country? He said this year they've built 18 motorcycles, 18 Panigale V2s.
Wow.
That are in a variety of Supersport spec.
Yep.
But if you want to, as the rider's down.
It's Mallory Dobbs.
So Mallory Dobbs, she was in 20th position, was the number 36 on the Mallory Dobbs Racing Ducati Richmond Kawasaki ZX6R. But going back to my story, Jay, talking about the motorcycle that Xavi Forez is on, that motorcycle, if you want to get it exactly like that, and you, like I said, you can get it in different configurations, Jay. They would vary for exhaust system that you have on the bike, the size of the radiator you would have on the bike. There's some other things all listed on their website. But basically, when you look at that motorcycle, you're looking at a $60,000 motorcycle to purchase. And boy, with more and more racing series, local club series changing to these Supersport rules, what a great option as Ty Scott goes back to the front. It would be. You never have to change the motor in that Ducati Panigale V2. Ty Scott gets past. He's in second place for the moment, Hannah.
I just watched him go up the hill here, and you were talking about Tyler Scott's setup, and something that really stood out to me is that he's on the zero front tire, and it's because he's so comfortable with their setup. It really lends itself to being able to be harder and later on the brakes. He feels very stable, and he thinks that's already a strong suit of his. When I talked to him earlier, he told me he definitely knows that he can outbrake Xavi in a lot of different spots on the track. It's just a matter of if he can get close enough to continue to do it and then hold on to that lead.
Now, Jason, we go for these Dunlop tires, an R0 front all the way up to an R7, R8 front. They're harder compound, but how do those tires feel under braking? Does a softer tire feel different than a harder?
It should, but that's what's got everybody a little bit stumped, because Ty Scott's on that R0 softest, and he's really, really happy with it. You heard him say that since they've unloaded off the truck, that has been the tire of his choice. So for him, I think that it's just a feel, right? It's a thing that each rider has a specific feel that they're looking for, and that tire works great for him. And I think who's on the R7? Is Xavi's on the R7 right now? So you got two different riders running the same lap times. And how about a little further back now? Torrin Collins has found himself in third in his debut weekend on that Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki team. And this would be a big scalp for him to be able to race against Josh Hayes and David Anthony as well, and try to figure out a way to put this bike on the podium. And for him, it would be a shot in the arm as you see Josh Hayes diving straight to the inside. And that's the advantage for Josh. He's going to be able to come out of there in first, but he's going to upshift it right to second, and that allows Torrance to try to get back by. But you know, Josh is just so cagey. He knows exactly what he's got underneath him, and he's going to keep doing that lap after lap too.
Well, and that's really what we want to see is this young Torrin Collins, if he's able to learn from how Josh Hayes is racing him. And Collins mentioned that he is an aggressive rider, and that was a very nice and aggressive move under braking as he sends it sideways onto the front straightaway. That Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki, boy, if you could come in here as a wild card rider, a one-off race weekend rider, and put it on the podium, you certainly are going to open some eyes of people looking for riders for next year.
And think how bad he wants that right now. Right now, I mean, Dave Anthony has also gone by Josh, and he's, for Torrin, the first time he really sat on this bike was last Saturday. He was here at the track, and he was able to come here, ride the bike, kind of get a feel for it. It's everything's new to him. So being on a bigger bike like this at a track like COTA, and now he's gonna do everything he can to stretch things away.
And Jason, you should see the base of his fingers on his hands because he rides a Moto3 bike, and because it's a heavier machine and the way he's learning how to ride it, his hands are destroyed.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. And
blisters and calluses.
And it's physical around here. And when your hands are in those gloves, they sweat, and so the skin obviously gets very soft, and that's what ends up happening. But right now, Dave Anthony wants to be a big problem for Torrin, as you can tell at this moment, as Josh Hayes tries to look around the outside of Dave Anthony. Torrin's getting a little bit out of shape. This is going to be a good battle all the way down to the finish. between these three.
Josh Hayes on that Yamaha R6 trying to get the double draft on the Squid Hunter team. But boy, for the Wrench motorcycle sponsor of David Anthony, to get on the podium would be a huge boost in the arm for his program moving forward. But look at Torrin Collins. He's so comfortable with the bike sideways. Coming from a Moto3 machine, it's pretty incredible.
But there'll be things from that he'll learn. He'll go back and watch this. Because if you look at Ty Scott, he's got that bike much more in line than he used to even. And I think that with working with the team and that kind of stuff, that's the kind of advantage that a kid like Torrin could have. He'll learn to kind of soften that up a little bit on the way into corners in the sense of not having to ride it so sideways and making it so physical for him. We heard him talk yesterday about it being a bit, he was tired, you know, as you would be, jumping from a Moto3 bike to this. So looking at his splits right now, he just did the third best split of his race as he comes out of that last corner, and they're just starting to pull away ever so slightly from the number 4, Josh Hayes. 2 laps to go.
Yeah, it seems like Hayes can't really manage the top speed of the GSX-R 750s right now on his Yamaha R6. That is the battle for third place. 14 is Torrin Collins, 18 years old, on a guest ride. And then you have David Anthony, who's on the Wrench Motorcycles machine, and Josh Hayes as well. So a variety of age. But back up front we go, Jay, and here's the thing. 2:13.590 for Xavi Forés. He goes 37.781 in the first split. He's on a ripper. Just to give you some perspective, yesterday the fastest lap of the race was Xavi Forés at a 14 flat. So they're some half a second quicker. And actually, Ty Scott is 6 or 7 tenths of a second quicker today than they were yesterday.
Amazing.
And the next closest fastest time is a 2:15. So these two are over a second and a half faster than the rest of the field in their fastest laps, and they're still doing 13s. 13.8, 13.6 last time by the stripe for these two. That is an incredible pace, and think about that. That's after we've had the interesting, weird starts we've had in the slowdowns, and I think, you know, keeping heat in those tires is obviously proving these Dunlops are strong.
Yeah, they are, and these guys are 8.6 seconds ahead. As you can see, they're both on personal bests first split. In fact, Ty Scott's first split was his fastest, and actually in that first split, Xavi pulled away ever so slightly, it looked like, and then more through the second split. But this lap here is going to be another really fast one. Ty Scott doing everything he can. The nimbleness of the Ducatis. You can see also Xavi does a back shift into this left-hander and helps him get out. Now he's going to do 2 upshifts here. He'll short shift it and get into this big long right, but he is on you know, he's put that together, that little stadium section. He's put that together really nicely.
Xavi Forés forcing the rest of this field to come catch him with so much experience and so many different racing series around the world. What a great learning experience for Ty Scott. But Ty doesn't look at it like that. All he wants to do is race with him, and he wants to beat him. This is a very focused and determined 17-year-old, and he likes nothing more than just to win. As we are on our final lap of competition, Xavi Forés had gotten to about nearly a half a second, but on this straightaway, Ty Scott reels him in and makes a pass.
He's in deep.
Can he hold it? Can he hold it? He's going to go wide on the exit. Xavi squaring it up. So it should be.
Ty's going to have it. That's an impressive move there from Ty Scott, because we've seen Xavi work that inside on him probably 4 or 5 times, and we've yet to see Ty do it. Ty made a big commitment once he got in that draft on the front straightaway that he was going to go to the inside that time and make a committed pass to go up underneath Xavi Forés. Now it's going to be a little bit harder for Xavi Forés, I think, at this point. I think you're going to see him do something when they get down into turn 11. So they're going to go, this is turn 8, up over turn 9, couple short shifts, Greg, into a very fast flat out almost on these bikes. This kink here. Now let's see if Ty moves over to the left and blocks the inside and see if Forés tries to push that in there. Yes, he's going to have a go.
There goes Xavi up the inside, the line open, and all of a sudden they go side by side as Scott has to lift. But with the draft, does Forés have enough squirting out of the corner, or will that Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki get it in the draft? Here he goes right by him.
And you watch Xavi turn it back over to the left, and he's going to try to just draft right back past and brake, put himself in a spot to outbrake coming in here, but is he going to get close enough?
They're side by side, and Scott has to lift, but he doesn't want to give it up and push him wide. Both of them out on the edge of the racetrack. And now Scott goes up the inside. That's the move that Xavi probably had to make.
Next one's going to be this next left. He's going to open it up, and he's going to try to square up and go up underneath him. But Ty Scott Good racecraft from Ty. He's got to get in there and park it right there. Runs it out just a little bit. Does Chavi go back by, or is Ty able to keep that spot?
Oh, that's a lot of corner speed for Ty Scott. Is he going to be able to keep it tight through this section of the road course? He does, but Forez is running out of opportunities to pass. Here goes Forez, late on the brakes, up the inside. No, almost made contact. Ty Scott not giving him anything, but he runs wide as both of them do. Now onto the front straightaway we go, and it looks like for the moment Ty Scott has got it in hand. As he comes to the line, it'll be Ty Scott with the checkered flag. Chavi Forez is second.
Wow, what a race. And here's a battle for third. Torrin Collins trying to hold off Dave Anthony as they get into that last corner. Torrin Collins is going to give him for XR Suzuki a podium in his debut weekend.
Wow, so the 18-year-old from Canada gets it done. The Calgary native goes P3. But boy, that was an interesting last lap, Jason. If this was MotoGP, all bets would be off.
Oh my God, yeah, no question. Both riders were way outside the green, and they had a 12-second lead. So I don't know how much you'd think about penalizing them, but yeah, what you're going to see here, this is coming into the last sector, and Chavi's going to have a go. He was upshifting and then downshifting into this turn, so he was upshifting out of the fast rights, then having to do a quick downshift. But Ty Scott wasn't going to be denied there, as they both end up running out a little bit wide.
Wow.
A little bit wide?
A little bit wide.
But yeah, that's just the nature of the beast. Good, hard racing. That's what that is right there.
Two athletes who did not want to give up a position at all and have the mindset, the wherewithal, and the talent to not crash those things out. Incredible. By the way, that penultimate lap for Ty Scott, he set his fastest lap of the race at a 13.5. Chavi Forez will be credited with the fastest lap of the race. Sorry, 13.6 for Ty Scott, 13.590. So just 100th of a second off each other in terms of best lap of the race. When we get back to winner's circle, we'll talk to our winner, Ty Scott, and find out how gnarly that was.
Well, Ty Scott going to see if he can carry a, I was going to say, a 0.6 of a mile wheelie there. That what a battle we had at the end. They both ran wide twice, so it wasn't one of them that ran wide and got an advantage. They were both wide twice out there. Be interesting to see what race direction says about that. And I mentioned that to you, Roger, and you brought up a good point about the gap they had.
Yeah, they have 12 seconds, so hopefully, you know, both those guys, that's just hard racing, good, clean racing, and it's awesome to see Tyler Scott be this aggressive. We head into the last lap here into turn one. Tyler, go ahead, you know, got a good run, takes his shot into turn one. When you get there, when they're there, you have to take them, because Chavi's really good in this first part of the track, and he knows that he's going to try to break away through here. So Tyler did a great job through here, and this lap right here was the fastest first split of the whole race by Tyler Scott.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the interesting thing was that, you know, it looked like Tyler was the one who felt he had pace and was just willing to sit behind Chavi until this last lap, and then he, you know, he pulled the pin. But, you know, Chavi is never going to go quietly, and what a battle this ended up being here. And it even started back here in 11, didn't it?
It really started right here trying to get this run. I think Chavi was trying to get in here deep, and I think he was trying to stand up Tyler a little bit to try to kill his momentum, to kill his run. And that's what you do. And if you think the guy can draft past you, you want to try to kill his momentum. But the M4 Suzuki was just really strong here. Tyler's a little guy, was able to get in the draft.
Yeah, and made the move here. And at this point, you're thinking, okay, is this it? Well, Chavi, a brilliant rider on the brakes, dives to the inside, stands Tyler up, but Tyler having none of it. And he recognized, I think, that Chavi was going to run wide. So Tyler said, well, we're both going to run wide. I'm just going to go with it. Comes back at it. But look at Chavi now starting to explore. Where can I find an opening? Brilliant defense right here by Tyler.
Real good defense there by Tyler. He knew that Chavi was going to try to get in there. But when he did that, you see how it killed his run here. They're side by side, but at this point, Tyler has the line being on the inside.
Tyler carrying a lot of speed into this triple apex right, and able to keep it on line. Here's where it falls away down to the bottom, and then here comes the lunge, and again, both of them running wide here. Wow, what a lap.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Geico Motorcycle. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be.
Welcome back as Ty Scott doing a little bit of a stoppie as he heads into victory lane to celebrate with his team. Let's take a look at those results. So it's Ty Scott, Xavi Forés, Torren Collins, David Anthony, and Josh Hayes, your top 5. Hannah is with our winner right now.
And it was certainly a barn burner of a last lap for Tyler Scott and Xavi Forés. Tyler, trading passes the entire time. What gave you the confidence to make some of the moves that you did?
Yeah, Hannah, it was an amazing race. First off, I can't give enough thanks to the whole Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki team, Dustin, Davey, my dad for getting me here, preparing an awesome bike this weekend. Arai Helmets Boat, Arai was a big part in this weekend as well, coming down, helping me earlier this year. Barry, the Oleans guy, couldn't have done it without him. And yeah, the race was super exciting. Super bummed out to see my teammate Teague Hobbs crash out. I hope he's okay. But on the restart, we got a good start and was trying to push the pace at the front and had an amazing last 6-lap battle with Xavi.
How much fun were you having out there?
Yeah, that's definitely up there as the most fun race that I've had, especially being on top of the box again with the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki GSX-R 750.
Congratulations, Tyler Scott, today's race winner. Moving on over to second place today, Xavi Forés. And Xavi, that was one heck of a last lap. Take us through it from your side of things.
Yeah, well, I was expecting a move from Tyler on the last lap because I could hear his bike so close to me all the race. I was pushing really hard. I had no more, and he was more strong than me in some points and also on the straight. So we did a nice battle on the last lap, clean battle. I hope the people at home and on the circuit enjoyed that lap. This time it was not in my favor, but fair play to Tyler. He was so fast all the weekend, and it was a race on 2 for the lead. So happy for that. The level on the Supersport is growing race by race. So let's go to New Jersey.
Congratulations, Xavi Forés. And moving on over to third place today, Torren Collins, only his second Supersport race of his career and already on the podium, one position better than yesterday. What was it that really helped you improve to make it stick?
The thing that really helped is the M4 X-Star Suzuki team. I really appreciate all the hard work that they did all weekend and last weekend. First time on this bike, and I wouldn't be able to do it without them, so I really want to say thank you to them. And yeah, in the race, it was super difficult. After the red flag, I was already feeling really hot and actually a bit tired, to be honest. And I knew that it was going to be hard with Josh Hayes and David Anthony on my butt the whole race. So yeah, and it was exactly Josh Hayes throwing in some crazy dive bombs. Me and David Anthony having some contact on the exit of the corners. It's just how I like it. Yeah, I like a bit of rubbing and racing. So yeah, it was a great race.
Heck of a MotoAmerica debut for Torren Collins, rounding out your Supersport podium, guys.
Yeah, really, really impressive, and wouldn't be surprised to see him possibly in this series moving forward in the next couple of years. He's got a lot of talent, Jay.
Yeah, definitely a lot of talent, and I think he's finally on equipment that kind of suits him. And I know this young man works hard, but I mean, look, take nothing. Ty Scott, he's a phenom, 17 years old. He gets the win here today. He did a great job. We're going to look at our standings here. We know this championship's already wrapped up, Greg, but Ty Scott there, 86 points back. Josh Hayes moves up into third today because Stefano Mesa's obviously riding Superbike. Teague Hobbs fifth, no points in this one. Jake Lewis didn't ride this one. Mazziato and Gilbert are still in there as well.
Well, it was a great job by this young rider to really race, and you got to look at the racecraft. It was quite awesome. Well, for the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki team, they win another one, and they get a fill-in rider in for them to bookend the podium as well. We certainly hope that Teague Hobbs is going to be okay. Good news for us, we get 2 more races that happen at New Jersey Motorsports Park in about a week and a half, September 22nd. 23rd and 24th. We certainly hope to see you there at the finale of the season. For Hannah Lopa and Jason Pridmore, I'm Greg White. Thank you so much for checking out Supersport Racing here in MotoAmerica. We'll see you at New Jersey in a couple weeks.